From being a performer and a writer, I am also a very intense person. And aside from that, my stress exceeds my abilities on occasion, just like everyone else. So, I've done a little thing for everyone else. I made it. I made this. I made it. It is saying magic orb like an iris, floating with no trails, knowing not to win nor to fail. 'Tis but a cycle which expands every day. Orb. Symbol. Behold. Setback that opened our eyes. Yesterday, which was March 11th, by the way. The third deacon of Pisces tends to change our aspects and the way that we view things in life. Now, the reason that is because when further examining other individuals, we can compassion and we can sympathy and we can underestimate. So, with a cumulative thought, one can process into their own mind the subject matter of a quarantine isolation of thought that enhances one's own consequences and furthers their power in ways via trial through Saturn and records of examination, patterns, behaviors. These thoughts and processes value their own time through internal development, reaching. Now, when you reach for such things of that nature, it's easy to assume that other individuals are going to look at you differently. Now, that would normally be a problem if it weren't for certain meditative tendencies and variable expansions that allow our mind to act like a gas inside of a bottle, being covered by something. For example, like so. Now, through science, we've been able to dictate variables, and with such variables relying to the X factor through algebraic consequences, as well as philosophical tendencies to theologize, I like to say, into variables that are more advantageous rather than lucrative. And we want lucrative power, but we also want patience, and that's something I personally struggle with, is patience. Now, into the next task at hand, I have things that would go beyond normal conception. I'll show you these things under a special occasion. Now, this might be backwards to the camera here, but this is what it states. Words of power. He who dies an illusion lives on as reality. Justice is not correct. Virtue is not proper. Both are altruistic. Divine growth through commitment to a task makes teachers of light of eternal reaching observe consequences of the whole. Now, might this be more true? It is. When we hurt another, we hurt ourselves. The effect continues, becoming naturally beautiful, becoming naturally appreciative. This breeds awareness, and to those who do not breed awareness, only breeds strife. Now, we can appreciate a sickness for its absurdity, but we also must be gentle and unselfish with most loving gifts in return for discipline, not self-gain. We would want to be high achievers at that point, which we can consider ourselves in moments of ego, but if you wish to decline yourself in any type of Buddhist or Hindu way, it would be easier to consider vanity a gift and such dignities of weakness a gift rather than a reaction as to a consequence. So, the law of restriction is another thing I've been looking at, which is a personal methodology as well. Allow outside influence. Interruptions do not exist. Reward personal with thoughtful acts. Correct. Watch out exploitation. Beware of the vile human greed. Always contribute. Lex's. Beware of vile human greed. Always contribute yourself with patience and awareness and selflessness. Now, the grammar on this is a bit up and down, but I did pretty much do the whole thing myself, and with as far as guidelines go, this would kind of be my book of guidelines, I suppose. So we can look at it further and say, to the pneumology I was talking about, which is the study of numbers, like numbers. Saxon. We have sort of a witches thing going on here, but that's to all. Religions are equal to each his own, as I say. So, we'll take one last look at this and put it down. There are a couple things I'd like to get into. I am a vlogger, an entertainer, a musician, a fortune teller, etc., etc., etc. But aside from any sort of personal gain I could get out of this, I want to give to my viewers something far more peculiar. I want to give them something interesting, belonging only to themselves, in power only to themselves, with trust only to themselves. And I think that that's more important than anything I could get out of life. So, there are several things that I have lost in the time in which I have existed, only being 21, which is why I carry such a sympathetic and wise face, as well as the reason why other people should start recognizing themselves into manners that they don't quite understand yet, as well as the fact that, aside from understanding things, oftentimes people don't look at themselves in the right way when they're trying to do it. So, just beware of all the ignorance, all of the pain, all of the strikes at anyone's pride, because all of those things are effects of the Piscean season and the illusion that takes place through Neptune, rather than the idea of one's ego or identity, as well as one's thirst for knowledge. Now, we can get very creative in this time period and era, because Neptune itself has put itself in Pisces rather than the other way around. Now, if you watch my videos or follow me, you know I'm a very genuine individual, and despite my flaws, I choose to embrace these things rather than to negotiate, because I don't have the time to hold grudges, nor do I have the time to stop loving the people that I love in my life. And I recommend for anyone going through hell to continue to go through it, because no one else is going to tell you to stop. I won't tell you to stop either, and the reason that is because you need to make the decision.